You might believe your brain is an objective recorder of everything in your life. In reality, your mind is a biased filter that prioritizes survival over happiness. 1. The negativity trap. Cognitive psychology shows your brain is naturally like Velcro for bad experiences. At the same time, it acts like Teflon for your positive moments. Researchers call this tendency the negativity bias. This trait is an evolutionary leftover from a much more dangerous time. Back then, missing a hidden threat often meant immediate death. Missing a small reward usually just meant skipping one meal. Today, this hardwired pattern forces you to over-prioritize minor social threats. Imagine you receive 10 glowing compliments about your work on a Monday. However, your boss mentions one tiny detail you could have done better. Instead of feeling proud, you spend the evening obsessing over that criticism. When you repeat this daily, you are slowly rewiring your neural pathways. This habit creates a mental filter that clouds your vision of reality. Your brain literally stops noticing opportunities right in front of you. It is too busy scanning the environment for potential dangers. Think about how often a single bad moment ruins a perfect day. You are essentially training your mind to look for problems. This isn't just a mood, it is a structural change in your perception. Once this filter is set, your mind starts to move on autopilot. You might feel like you are just being efficient by sticking to what you know. 2. The decision autopilot. When you avoid making active choices, your prefrontal cortex begins to power down. Psychology shows this area is the CEO of your brain responsible for willpower. By outsourcing your day to habits, you are effectively demoting your own conscious mind. Cognitive psychology calls the resulting mental exhaustion decision fatigue. Notice how you end up eating the same unhealthy meal every single week. You don't even crave it, but it has become the path of least resistance. This same pattern occurs when you drift through a repetitive routine at work. Over time, you lose the genuine ability to feel in control of your life. This passive habit builds a dangerous state known as learned helplessness. You start to feel stuck in circumstances you actually have the power to change. Can you remember the last time you made a truly conscious choice today? If your day feels like a script you didn't write, your brain is rewiring for passivity. Every time you choose the easy way, you weaken your mental focus. Breaking this cycle requires more than willpower. It requires breaking your rhythm. When you stop choosing for yourself, you stop being the one in charge. You might think a quick scroll through your feed is a harmless way to relax. 3. The endless scroll. Psychology shows that constant hits of novelty cause your brain to release rapid bursts of dopamine. Over time, this flood of artificial rewards lowers your dopamine baseline. When this baseline drops, normal activities start to feel dull and uninteresting. Imagine you finally sit down to read a book you've wanted to start for weeks. Within 5 minutes, you feel an uncontrollable itch to check your phone. The quiet pace of the pages cannot compete with high-speed digital thrills. This habit slowly erodes your ability to sustain deep, focused attention. It becomes nearly impossible to finish goals that don't offer instant gratification. Your brain essentially becomes wired to seek the easiest and fastest rewards. Meaningful work and real conversations begin to feel like an exhausting chore. Think about how often you reach for a screen during a small moment of silence. You aren't scrolling because you're interested, you're just chasing the next hit. Notice if you feel more irritable or restless after an hour of browsing. That restlessness is your brain struggling to adjust to a slower reality. If you don't take control now, you might lose the ability to focus altogether. When your attention is fractured, your peace of mind disappears along with your time. Some habits are entirely internal and far more destructive than any physical act. 4. The worry loop. Cognitive psychology calls this rumination. It is the habit of overfocusing on distress and its underlying causes. Rehearsing stressful scenarios in your head physically strengthens those neural pathways. You are training your brain to become an expert at being anxious. Recall the last time you spent hours playing out an imaginary argument. You might prepare clever comebacks or predict exactly how someone will react. In reality, you are simply trapped in a mental simulation of failure. This habit forces your body into a state of chronic high cortisol. Prolonged exposure to these chemicals can physically shrink your hippocampus, This is the area responsible for memory and emotional regulation. You soon find it harder to stay calm even when things are fine. Small inconveniences now begin to feel like overwhelming personal catastrophes. Your brain has been rewired to find the threat in every situation. Ask yourself if your inner monologue helps you prepare or just makes you suffer. If you are constantly bracing for the worst, you lose the energy to enjoy the best. This mental fatigue leads to a dangerous breakdown in how you process the world. When your internal world is this noisy, your focus on reality begins to fracture. You might think you are a master of doing many things at once. 5. The attention fracture. Psychology shows that your brain does not actually multitask. Instead, it rapidly switches between tasks, creating a heavy mental burden. Researchers call the resulting fog attention residue. This means a piece of your focus stays stuck on the previous activity. Imagine you are writing an important email at your desk. Every few minutes, you pause to check a notification on your phone. Even after you put the phone down, your mind is still processing that text. Suddenly, a simple 10-minute draft takes an hour to finish. This habit slowly erodes your capacity for deep work. You lose the ability to solve complex problems effectively. Your thinking becomes shallow, and your output loses its edge. Think about how many times you switch tabs in a single hour. Notice how scattered your brain feels by the end of the day. You aren't just busy, you are fracturing your own intelligence. Constant task switching wires your brain to be perpetually distracted. This shallow state makes genuine rest almost impossible to reach. You might think checking on your friends is just a harmless way to stay connected. 6. The comparison thief. Social comparison is the habit of measuring your value against the lives of others. Psychology shows our brains process social rejection in the same regions as physical pain. When you compare yourself, you are essentially wounding your own sense of self-worth. Your internal pain centers light up as if you had been physically struck. This neural response is a primitive alarm designed to protect us from exile. Today, this ancient reflex is being triggered hundreds of times every single day. Imagine feeling happy with your life until you open a specific social app. You see a former classmate who just landed a high-level executive role. They are posting photos from a luxury office with a view of the city. In a split second, your own accomplishments start to feel like total failures. You are measuring your messy reality against someone else's polished highlight reel. This habit slowly wires your brain for a state known as social defeat. It convinces your nervous system that you are perpetually at the bottom. This pattern leads to chronic low self-esteem and a deep desire to withdraw. Your brain begins to perceive every social interaction as a competition you are losing. Think about how often you let a stranger's post ruin your entire mood. You are effectively training your brain to ignore your own hard-earned progress. This mental loop makes it impossible to feel satisfied with your own achievements. Every scroll is a silent vote against your own happiness and mental peace. You are sacrificing your stability for a glimpse of someone else's fake perfection. If you don't break this cycle, your brain stays locked in permanent inadequacy. This constant evaluation is exhausting, but the last habit is the most subtle. The brain is not just a passive receiver of everything you experience. You can actively teach yourself to notice hidden opportunities every day. 7. The scanning habit. This habit involves intentionally looking for 3 small wins throughout your day. Cognitive psychology calls this practice cognitive reframing. It is the deliberate act of shifting your internal perspective toward progress. This repetition forces your brain to rewire its complex filtering system. You are training your neural pathways to prioritize success over minor failures. Instead of noticing what is missing, you start to see what is working. Imagine how you feel after a long and stressful commute home. Instead of complaining about traffic, you mention a great cup of coffee. You might choose to focus on a kind word from a colleague. This shift builds a brain that is naturally better at spotting solutions. You recover from setbacks faster because your mind stops searching for loss. You can start testing this tonight with one small positive reflection. Notice how your mood shifts when you give that win your attention. Consistent practice makes the power of neuroplasticity work in your favor. Ultimately, your daily habits are the real architects of your entire mind. Remember that you have the true power to reshape your own reality.